Hi patrons, for this month I decided to do a chord melody arrangement of The Touch of Your Lips, which is at least one of my favorites. I wanted to do something that was at least a little bit different from the other things I've done the last few months, just to change things up a little bit. This is, I guess, sort of a fairly well-known standard. It's still played quite often, I think. And it's just a very nice, really melodic, easy-going major melody with a lot of turnarounds. But it also has this nice modulation to the major third, which is just, well, at least one of my favorites, but actually also just a very common one. And another thing that I like about it is also, like, I chose to do this in C. I'm not sure actually where I got that idea from, because it's a song that's played in a lot of different keys. I think Chet Baker plays it in C. At least the instrumental version, and then also Keith Jarrett is in C. So and with that key, then you really have sort of the very, like, you go from C to E major, and that's just an extremely bright but also a fairly practical key on guitar. So, and C is of course also a practical key on guitar. So that's kind of why I'm using it, even though I'm not really using a lot of open strings on this actually, but that's then a coincidence more, and also because I guess the choice was actually more about the sound of the key. The approach to the arrangement is really to try and see if I can find a way to keep things moving. So instead of doing a ballad or doing something that's a very slow medium, then I try to, it's in no way fast, but it's still moving along a lot faster. And then let's see, that was earlier last year, this year, that I did Have You Met Miss Jones, where I was focusing on doing something similar. It was a little bit slower, and then really using a lot of walking bass. Here I'm not using as much walking bass. There is some bass movement, but I'm actually trying to find a more sort of practical, and in some ways, of course, also easier. But with stuff like this, the whole discussion about what is practical and what is easy is also just that if it's playable, then that's probably just a good way to play it. So that was what I went for with the way I'm playing the arrangement the last few days. That seemed just the best way to do it. So I'm not playing really any walking. There are no sort of real patterns, but I'm doing a lot of stuff where I'm leaving. So as long as something is moving, then I let that move, and then I try to fill up the space so that we don't have, because what you want to have with an arrangement like this is that you want to always have the idea that you can hear where the groove is and that something is happening. Because if you just have long sustained notes and then the tempo is sort of implied that we know this song and therefore we know that it's fast, that for the listener, that's not really a great solution, I think. So you kind of want to have something moving all the time. That's what I'm doing here with just filling up between the chords. And then there are a few chord voicings in that are not, that are at least voicings I don't use that much, but are kind of nice to have in there. So it's also a good practice for that, especially these half diminished voicings. So yeah, so you can see the first chord is just really just this C, A minor, and then here in the bar 2, that could, if you don't know the melody, then that could appear to be the melody, but it's actually like a fill. That's the melody again. This part where we have the A in the melody and then the C under it is a little bit tricky to get in there, but this is one option. Here we have a little bit of bass movement. But the whole approach, as you can see also, I mean, I'm connecting the chords, of course, and I'm also still just playing the bass notes that are there, but I'm really more concerned with just having something moving and not really that the bass has to be on the one. That doesn't matter. If the melody is on the one, then I can just leave that out. And that's just a nice way to have it. And I think if you play like this, you can still get the groove across. I think that's the important part of this. So then to C major. And here I'm actually delaying the melody a little bit because then I have time to play the C, and I'm playing, oh yeah, that's this place. So here's a way of playing I'm just going to turn up my guitar a bit, so yeah, better. Here I'm playing a C major 7 where I'm playing the C with my index finger and the B also that I need in the melody later. So what I'm doing is that I'm playing first just a C major 7 chord, yeah, and then I'm using my second finger, I think it's my second finger at least in the video, to play the melody like this, and then I can keep the rest of the chord ringing. Yeah, and then go to F. Then we get the E half diminished, a short fill, and then ending the fill and then playing the chord. And then this really nice 4 minor sound, or like a minor 2/5 back to C. So here you also have, like on the G7, I'm just adding the chord after. I mean, actually, if you watch the video, you can see that I'm playing the entire chord, but I'm not hitting the notes, because this is already keeping it moving, and then that's not enough, and then I can just focus on moving the melody on. And then here, the melody is moving, and then I move in with the chords. Then we get the second half. And you can see, like, the first line is pretty similar. It's almost the same as what I'm playing in the first half of it, except the very beginning. And here it's really just because the melody is more important. Same solution again on the C major 7, F7. I have a slightly different fill on the E half diminished, so going to really the third of the A7, adding the rest of the chord. Back to then we get the 4 minor thing again, so the D half diminished. Now I'm playing the entire G7. And here you can also really tell that, I guess, the original melody doesn't actually have a dominant here, because it's really just like F minor 6 what's happening here. Sorry. And then to A minor. Then it's just a 3-6-2-5. And then ending on this C6, which is actually something that I'm finding that the more of these chord melody arrangements I make for you guys, the more often I need this voicing. And then this it's just a turnaround that I came up with, which is just sort of the C major to flat 6, flat 2, the 5, and then a C major 7 going down to a C6. So I think with these, as you can tell, now I'm playing through it slowly, there's not really like a lot of difficult chords or things that you have to be really careful with in terms of voicings or how you play the melody. Of course, you need to get the melody out there, but it's as much an example of how you combine sort of fairly basic chords with the melody, and also sort of have small patterns that keep things moving along, and that way you really get the idea of the tempo across. I think that's sort of the main thing with this arrangement, and also what I'm kind of focusing on. And I think also, again, it's just, and you will see that if you hear interviews with, I was watching a part of a video with Andy Brown, and there's another one with Martin Taylor also, where he also talks about this, that's actually the difficult part, even though of course it opens up a lot of stuff that you can sit and play alone and keep things and all the dynamic range and all the possibilities you have, but at the same time to do something simple like just playing a swing tune in tempo and getting that feeling across is something that's actually quite demanding. And this is one way of doing it. I think this is more practical than trying to put a bass line sort of strictly on everything. So definitely, if I had to do this if I have to play a set, then this approach is gonna cover more of my material than what I'll do with too much bass lines. Of course, another option would be to just not do chords and then only do bass lines. You could do that as well, I guess. But then you're also kind of missing something essential, I think, in the sound. So that wouldn't be something I would do for a whole arrangement. I might do it for a part of it, but then again, and then that would probably be in two. Schofield kind of does it like that actually sometimes. But yeah, that's for another time. At least I hope you can use this. If you have any questions, then just let me know. You can comment on the video or send me a message or send me an email. And of course, as always, suggestions for next month's chord melody arrangement are of course welcome, because it's always nice to hear what you guys want to see as well. So don't hold back.